Greetings. In this video we're going to cover the quadratic formula notes. Quadratic formula is used when you have a quadratic equation set equal to 0 and you're trying to solve for x. So it has to be in standard form, and so the standard form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. So the order of the matter, so the x squared has to be first with the a, the x is second, and c is your constant. So the first thing you should always do is find the a, the b, and the c of each of your quadratic equations. So as we look at this one, you have x squared plus 3x minus 5. So the a value would be the coefficient, the number in front of the x squared, which would be a 1. So a is equal to 1. The b value is what's in front of the x, which would be 3. And the c value would be your constant, which would be a negative 5. So make sure to include that negative, which is in front of the 5. So a, b, and c right from your standard form. Now the quadratic formula itself is this long equation, which is really two separate equations. So as we look at this, we say it's the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of all of this work. So the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. All of that stuff is divided by 2a. So make sure you notice that it's this whole bar here that's being divided by with this 2a. So it's really two equations. And the reason that it's two equations is because of this plus or minus that's right there. So x, if we write out what those two equations are, x is equal to that opposite b plus that square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and x is equal to the opposite of b minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So those are your two solutions. Now usually we do our work with them separate, or into one equation rather, and then separate them at the very end. So, but we do know that there should be two answers if everything simplifies in a certain way. So let's take a look at an example. So you have to use this formula, and you'll be able to use this set of notes on quizzes and tests. So make sure that you know how to use that formula though. So again, I'm going to keep this up here. The very first step is to find out what your a, your b, and your c is equal to. Because notice now we have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3, which is equal to 0. So your a value is 2, your b value is 7, and your c value is 3. So that's what we use in each of these b, a, and c locations. So as we write it out, x is equal to, we don't say minus b, we say the opposite of b, because you're going to write down whatever this coefficient is here in your b slot. So you're going to say the opposite of that. So the opposite of a positive 7 is a negative 7. And then plus or minus the square root of, and try to be neat on this, 7 squared. So I'm going to use parentheses. So 7 squared minus 4, and then parentheses a value, which is 2, and your c value, which is 3. And that's all over 2 times your a value, which is 2. So you got to plug everything in correctly first into your quadratic formula with the a, the b, and the c. Now all your work is simplifying. So you got to simplify this all the way down by using your order of operations. Most of your order of operations are going to be inside this square root right here. So opposite of 7 plus or minus the square root, and 7 squared is 49. And then you're going to do minus 4 times 2 times 3. Now you don't do the distributive property here because we're not adding or subtracting. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. So this is going to be minus, because of that negative sign, 24. And that's all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Now you have a little bit more simplifying to do. We did a lot, but we have to do the subtraction inside that square root first. So opposite of 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 minus 24. Okay, well that's 25. And that's all over 4 still. We're looking a lot better. We can do a little bit better though because now we have the square root of 25. So the opposite of 7 is plus or minus 5 all over 4. And remember, this turns into two equations. And so once we get down to here, we turn it into our two equations. One where you're doing the positive square root and one where you're doing the negative square root. But we already did the square root of 25, which we made it 5. So this turns into the opposite of 7 plus 5 all over 4 and the opposite of 7 minus 5 all over 4. So now you simplify each of these, right? Every time you've heard me say all over 4, and that's important because now you do the numerator, the top first. Negative 7 plus 5 is a negative 2 divided by 4. Negative 7 minus 5 is a negative 12, still over 4. And we simplify here. This is a negative 1/2, and this is a negative 3. So my solutions to this equation, set equal to 0, are x equals negative 1/2 and x equals a negative 3. Those are your two solutions to that equation. The key parts are making sure that you square it and do your order of operations correctly inside that square root so you can simplify it down nicely. So those notes take you through what your quadratic formula is and how to use it. Make sure that you use your notes when you're doing any of these problems so that you can use it as the order and where to plug in all the right values. Thank you. Good luck.